Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Sara Howard and I'm an epidemiologist at Oak Ridge Associated Universities where I work primarily on health studies related to various occupational exposures. Currently, I am also a PhD student in epidemiology at the University of Tennessee. This poster discusses tobacco use and its relationship to socioeconomic status in occupational radiation cohorts. Tobacco use is an important confounder for many health outcomes, including lung cancer and cardiovascular disease. Often, tobacco use information is unavailable in occupational studies, so measures of socioeconomic status, or SES, are commonly used as a surrogate. However, there is not a standard measure of SES that is used across occupational studies, nor is there a full understanding of how SES is related to tobacco use in these unique groups. This study hypothesized that there is a relationship between tobacco use and SES, but the relationship may change as tobacco use patterns shift over time. Generally speaking, it is expected that lower SES is associated with a higher prevalence of tobacco use. 3 different cohorts were selected from the publicly available data on the U.S. Department of Energy's comprehensive epidemiologic data resource. Cohorts from the Hanford site, Lindsay Chemical Company, and the Tennessee Eastman Corporation, or TEC, were selected because they contained not only different measures of SES, but also tobacco use information. Prevalence by birth cohort was calculated for each cohort and compared to the prevalence in the United States for each birth cohort in 1979, which was the median year of data collection for tobacco use between occupational cohorts. Chi-square analysis with a 95% confidence level was used to determine if there was an association between SES and tobacco use for each cohort. If the chi-square analysis was significant, a logistic regression model was run with tobacco use as the dependent variable and SES as the independent variable. Overall, the cohorts combined for more than 1,500 people. The total number of people who used tobacco was 1,232, compared to only 335 people who did not use tobacco. Hanford had the highest prevalence of tobacco use per birth cohort, even higher than the U.S. national average. TEC had a sharp decline in tobacco use prevalence after the 1920 birth cohort, but this is likely due to the very small numbers of workers in the later birth years for TEC. When examining the distribution of tobacco use by SES, both salary and hourly employees at TEC had similar percentages. At the Lindsay Chemical Company, 75% of workers with less than high school education used tobacco, whereas only 53% of workers with a graduate degree used tobacco. In all 4 job categories at Hanford, over 90% of workers used tobacco. However, white-collar workers were the lowest, at just under 92%. In the chi-square analysis, only the Lindsay Chemical Company had a significant association between SES and tobacco use. In the logistic regression models, the odds of tobacco use were lower in workers with a graduate degree compared to those with less than a high school education, even after adjustment for birth year. Overall, the study was limited by a small sample size, specifically a lack of women and non-white participants and low numbers of non-tobacco users. The Hanford and Lindsay Chemical Company cohorts only included white males. Tobacco use prevalence by occupational cohort shows declines in later birth cohorts, while the prevalence in the greater United States does not show the same declines. The observed declines could be the result of a smaller number of people with tobacco use information available in the later birth cohorts. Of the 3 different types of SES, only education level showed a statistically significant difference in tobacco use. Both Hanford and TEC had relatively small proportions of non-tobacco users at 6% and 26% respectively. More research is needed to determine if different measures of SES are reasonable estimates of tobacco use in occupational cohorts of radiation workers, particularly among more contemporary cohorts where, due to declines in tobacco use, would have a higher number of tobacco non-users. Thank you.